Boom, 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 boom. Superconductor. I think we're about live about now, right? I think so, yeah. Okay. It is 9 a.m. here in Los Angeles. And it's, oh, let me turn on the Punchie server so I can get going on my punchie.tv/Hake. Complicated business, folks. Complicated business. It's 9:01 here in Los Angeles, and it's Wednesday, the 19th of February, AD 2025, and we're having a fun, loosey-goosey, the Hake Report show. I wanted to start off, before I get started with the show, guys. I wanted to present a little bit of news, actually, or I will never get to it at all. So maybe I could go over here on the Hake Report website and present this little quick news item for you guys. From the far left female-run outlet, The Skim, they're talking about SSRIs and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. I wonder if that's my grubby fingers. Complicated business. Hang on. Hold on. Where's my... Did I just close it? Terrible. What a mess. There we go. I don't know what happened. Okay. This caught my attention, and I mentioned it in Hake News on the Jason Lee Peterson show toward the end of the first hour there. Bitter pill, the white on the inside White House eyes psychiatric medications. Psychiatric medications. Our greatest president, Donald J. Trump. Part 2, back and better than ever. And I'll get to your calls, guys, and we'll get on with the show. The new MAHA, Make America Great Again, healthy again, coded prescription for the United States targets what I call evil, but you may differ, and the fact checkers and all them may differ. Antidepressants, and other mood disorder, they call it mood disorder, meds, short for medications, claiming they might pose a threat, quote unquote, and they put scare quotes in that. Hake uses scare quotes a lot, so Hake relates to the ladies at the Skim. Threat to kids, meaning children, not baby goats. Leading the charge, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That's Dr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to you. I don't even know if he's a doctor. I don't think he is. Who's launching a 100-day review despite his history of controversial, which may mean halfway reasonable, comments about these drugs. Maybe not despite, maybe because of, ladies at the Skim. He has stated, antidepressants, specifically SSRIs, it's not psycho with a P. SSRIs, I've heard of SSRIs, are harder to quit than heroin, he states. A lot of these young people, JLP's counseled with them. I've known some people who get on these things. They were just coming out with ADD when I was a kid. I heard of it from one bad kid. He was white. He wasn't that bad. He was actually an okay kid, but he had anger problems. He had like a single mother, I think, who smoked in the house, by the way. But and in the car. They get on these drugs and then they go under like real drugs sometimes. And you heard my call with beautiful Ardene of Colorado talk about her late ex-husband, I guess, or whatever he was, late husband, who got on those legal drugs all his life. In that case, it was something else other than this, maybe. pain meds, I think, opiates, fentanyl and all that stuff. And he linked these antidepressants, SSRIs, psychotropic drugs, people have called them. I don't know what psychotropic means, but it has something to do with the brain, drugs affecting the brain. He linked them to school shootings, claims not backed by evidence, so claims the ladies at the Skim. And then they change the subject. They do a slick subject change. Slide in a point that's irrelevant. See, they throw in their piddly little facts. Watch this. Listen to this. As most school shooters weren't taking these meds. That has nothing to do with whether there is a link between SSRIs and school shootings, whether or not most school shooters were taking the meds. I will have you know, if you ponder it a bit, is there a cohort of school shooters who are taking these meds? Because I remember hearing more than one school shooter who was taking them and then quit taking them, was off them for like 3 weeks, and then the young man listens to the voice, male, right? Young male, I call them adult if they're over 12. Male listens to the voices, because those voices tell you all kinds of crazy things, I heard, according to them. I've known gals who take these things. And do the mass shooting or whatever. Because most school shooters are black, and they're probably doing like reefer madness shootings. You know, they're on pot, and a whole lot of pot people go crazy, violent, I hear. Underreported. So he may be right about that, but it seems like they're running cover for the psychiatric meds. And I personally don't really believe in the psychiatric meds. It's a woman thing to be into that. It is a hoity-toity, evil, academic, atheist, pretending that it's a chemical imbalance thing when the root is spiritual. One addiction expert, told NPR, far-left extremist NPR, that comparing antidepressants to heroin is like comparing apples to opioids, noting their apples, I will have you know, apple seeds, don't they make some type of crazy poison out of apple seeds? But that's a side note. Noting that they're in different universes when it comes to addiction risk, claims he. What sense does it make to put a kid on antidepressants? While the White House says the goal is to address overprescription, some doctors are dumb liberals nowadays. They're like gun control activists on Twitter, back when it was called Twitter. Warn that this move could worsen the country's so-called mental health crisis. The so-called mental health crisis has only gotten worse since they've been focusing on this atheist, secularist, drugs, false symptom relieving, and not getting to the root issue. Their main concern, this could further stigmatize, there's that liberal buzzword, the medications, causing some people to delay care, communist buzzword, or stop taking their prescriptions, even though SSRIs are proven to reduce suicide rates, they claim. What? A spokesperson, meaning a spokesman, for the evil American Psychiatric Association. Psychiatric. Those are the ones who prescribe drugs for your mental issues. Noted the medications are already prescribed to kids judiciously, they claim. And when needed, can give children their lives back. When needed, they say. You'll notice none of these people push for fathers and mothers being in the home. They don't push for God back in the schools. They're atheists. They're communists. They're mamas. Analysts say this, mamas is this, this spirit of atheism. Analysts say this directive likely to face legal challenges could be the start of Trump-era changes to federal health policies. A step in the right direction, I say. As the administration already moved to, listen to this, erase vaccine and abortion info from federal websites. Did you know that federal websites were giving a vax propaganda and abortion propaganda? Not surprised. And restrict gender-affirming care. They just debunked themselves with that line. Gender-affirming care is a euphemism for gender dysphoria support. Supporting supporting and enabling gender dysphoria, because they call it gender dysphoria when you're confused about what you are, what your body actually is, and you have this weird identity with your body and want to mess with it, and they want to support that because they think that it lowers suicide, which that's questionable. Again, just addressing symptoms and not the root issue. We have, in short, we have men back in charge. I don't know what type of man Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is. I don't know if he's like a man, a real man. Trump does seem to be. Oh, yeah. RFK Jr., a step in the right direction. A little bit more common sense. We've been saying, we, being the sort of more conservative side of people, have been saying for years about these pills that they've pushed on kids, children, in many cases, children of divorce, whose fathers have been separated from them and who've been having mental problems and hating their mothers and killing their mothers sometimes, and then going to the schools and killing the kids. A lot of times they were on those things. Let's check this one item real quick. Before we get started with the show, guys, who's that guy? Newtown, Connecticut shooter. Was he on SSRIs? Let's find out. Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. Far left Wikipedia. Adam Lanza, yeah. I guess I should ask Grok. Grok is the liberal AI on X. Let's find out. SSRI. Nope. They won't put it on the Wikipedia. Ask Grok. Grok is, again, it's the liberal AI. I don't know what that is. Was Adam Lanza ever on SSRIs? Let's find out if Grok knows anything. Liberal AI Grok. Adam Lanza. Let's see if I can zoom in. Come on, how much of a boomer am I today? He was indeed prescribed selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Specifically, he was prescribed something and something at different points in his so-called treatment history. However, there are reports indicating he discontinued those medications after experiencing adverse reactions, including one instance where he was unable to raise his arm after starting one of those things. Wow. But it gives children their lives back. Also worth noting, some sources mention a claim about him being on something, Fanapt. Likely retracted because it was an imposter. Toxicology report indicated no presence of drugs or alcohol in his system at the time of the incident of his shooting. He may not have been taking SSRIs or any other medication at that time. He was living with his single mother. His father was not in his life for like 2 years before he did this shooting. He shot his mother. I think he shot her in the face, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. Sort of reminiscent of the Uvalde guy, the Mexican kid, young man, who shot his grandma in the face. Luckily, she survived and called the police. I don't know if they shot him in the face. Sorry, kids, if that's, and faint of heart, if that's poor taste of Hake to mention. But if you're tough, then you're tough. If not, I understand, and pardon me. There were many other incidents kind of like that. If you're on that stuff, you got problems, bud. Family problems. I know families, so-called families, where there's a father and mother, by the way. But as JLP points out, the father's weak. And so they are a mess. It's terrible. Like, we had a Punchie TV taping, and we had a guest. So get excited about Monday's Punchie TV show coming up. I'm not going to spoil it. Don't get nervous. Don't get nervous. But this guest stated many adults, grown adults in their 50s and 60s are children. And that's a fact, Jack. So if you're being raised by a child, then you got problems, bud. I don't care if it's not just the simple fact of the father being in the home. Everybody's got issues. It's more than just that. I am live on Punchie.tv/Hake. I am live on X, YouTube. What's up, guys? What is up, everybody? Nice to see you. What's up, Age of Inversion? Thank you, JLP / I guess that would be Pastor Chatelet, for helping to raid the stream on Rumble. Very nice. D-Live crew. Let me make sure that I'm live. Let me check my Facebook thing. Our resident health expert sometimes has wise things to say. Very cool. Before I get started with the show, I want to get to a call, though, everybody. Andrew in Scotland, my friend. How you doing, Andrew? Are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Hey, it's good to hear from you.
How are you, James?
Doing well, thank you.
Yeah. It's good to talk to you as well. You know, I'm not coming with, a horrible nature towards this conversation.
Okay, cool.
But the only thing I could think to do last night, because I was thinking about a conversation yesterday, and I thought, I've got to find an angle, because I think, yesterday when I was talking to you and Jesse, I was trying to describe to you that I refuse to lose arguments. But a lot of the arguments that I create, I don't actually know what I'm talking about. But on this particular argument, I think I'm right still. And the only thing I could think of last night was, right, if I can't convince Jesse or you that you're my friend, if I can't convince you of that, then okay, I'll drop it. But instead of just completely dropping it,
yeah,
I'm going to tell you that I've been talking to Muslims and Christians, and I've also talked to a couple of Jews.
Yeah.
And everybody that I talk to who's a Muslim and everybody I talk to as a Christian, it looks like they want to be my friends. It looks like they don't want to be my enemy, despite the doctrination within the books that we hold so preciously.
Yeah.
So if I can't convince you that you're my friend, can I at least convince you that we should be friends?
Yeah, definitely. No, you're my friend. Right?
Well, and you're my friend.
Nice.
So did I win, or is this a draw, or what?
It is I acquiesce to your friendship. But I want to reiterate one thing, though, because we made an important point.
Sure.
We made an important point on the Jesse Lee Peterson show when JLP let me talk with you.
Yeah, definitely, man. You made some great points.
You had an emotional need for, or want, really, because that's what emotion is, right? For the word friendship and the meaning of friendship to be real.
Okay, but from my side, I'm saying, regardless of this is me being emotionally charged to try and win an argument.
No, it's not about winning an argument. It's
No,
emotional
but
for and
I didn't
emotional.
finish. I didn't finish.
I know, but let me interrupt you briefly to make it abundantly clear. I'm talking about the emotional need for friendship to be real.
Yeah.
It's not about winning. It's not about winning or losing the argument, for at least not in my mind. It's about friendship being real.
James, I concur. You're right.
Okay.
It's not about winning the argument.
Nice.
I concur. I relent. I agree.
But we do. Not about I won't put it past you and me to want to be attached to trying to win an argument. That is a temptation too. No. Go ahead.
I can't see me stopping wanting to win arguments anytime soon. But I do understand it's not about the argument. It's not about the argument. What I'm saying is, whether I'm emotionally charged when I'm trying to prove this point or not, it wouldn't matter if I was emotionally charged about it, because I would still be right to say that true friendships do exist. I'm just going about it the wrong way. So my method is wrong, but my aim is true, if that is any kind of sort of way to explain it.
Your method of trying to be friends, or your method of friendship is wrong, but your heart is, your aim is true.
Yeah.
That's for God or whatever to reveal to you. You know how the Bible says the Holy Spirit discerns the deepest intentions of the heart? Something to that effect?
Yes.
That's for the Holy Spirit in you to say yay or nay to that.
Well, right. Well, the Holy Spirit in me says that you're my friend. So is it lying?
No.
So I have a friend called James.
Yes.
So what? How did I lose this argument then?
Oh, yesterday when you lost?
Well, I mean, I don't feel like I lost the argument.
Nice. Good. You shouldn't be feeling like you're losing anything in having a conversation.
No. No, I mean, that's it. I mean, as I was talking about yesterday with Jesse, I'm not going to repeat myself any further because the conversation is basically at an end, though. I was saying the friends that I've ended up with in life, I've not chose them. They've just ended up my friends.
Right.
And that's what I was trying to get across since Monday.
Yeah. That's how life works. You come across people.
Indeed. And I've come across you, and I consider you both my friends.
Indeed.
So finally, I get to say, I rest my case.
Nice. It's great hearing from you, man.
Honestly. Yeah, you too, man. Hey, thanks a lot. And honestly, thank you for your patience, and thank you for Jesse's patience, because, you know, I didn't even understand if we'd be able to find any common ground on this on Monday. So it was bugging me at night and everything. But now it's no bugging me. So I'm going to call it a draw.
Okay. Cool, man.
Okay. Thank you, James.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew in Scotland. Take care.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And what am I saying oh, yeah to? I'm saying, oh, yeah. Because anyway, guys, let's just get right on with the show.
report. La la la.
Hey guys!
Oh, it's the Hake report. The Hake report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake report. The Hake report. La la la.
So, how you guys doing? I am fine. I have my. Do you like my "When She's Crying, She's Lying" T-shirt? You ever seen a woman cry? Lying. Nice, very nice. Get yours, JesseLeePeterson.shop, along with a bag of Punchie's coffee. Punchie's coffee. Don't miss it. I had some this morning. Very nice. Or rebuildingtheman.com/stores, as Jesse Lee always says. Jesse Lee Peterson. And the one that I have is the 100% cotton Comfort Colors 1717. It's it's nice material. This is a size medium. I don't know. I think it's okay. JLP had if you watched the Jesse Lee Peterson show, he had the tri-blend version, which has some polyester in it, so I don't prefer it, but he does. It's a good fit. Let me show it to you real quick. JesseLeePeterson.shop. There's the Punchie's coffee. Free shipping, by the way, in the continental United States, and maybe even more than just that. This is the tri-blend one. When she's crying, she's lying. Yeah. So that's that tri-blend one. But you can search, or if you go to view all in the apparel, if you go down, I think the if she's crying, she's lying thing is, no, I recommend doing a search, crying. And you can see the cotton one, as well as hooded sweatshirt and non-hooded sweatshirt. I think that's a overreacting to the fact that this trackpad is not working for me today, but maybe it's just my mind. Anyway, very nice. Thank you to the designer. Helped make that happen. That's cool. Let me get to Manuel in California, who's also on the line here, before we get further into the show. What's up, Manuel? Thank you for calling and holding.
Right on.
Hey.
If I were you, I would have told Andrew I'll never be your friend. Just to mess with him because it bothered him so much.
Yeah.
I get it, everyone wants I get where he's getting at, but to me it's funny when people show their cards like that. I would just start digging on them. All right.
That's that. Is that white weakness? That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because yesterday, Manuel and I were talking about how whites are so nice, accommodating, and don't want to deal with confrontation so much, and so they'll do anything to avoid confrontation. Except Scots just don't mind it, and he's a Scot.
That conversation, yeah, that's cool, I get you want the word the friend, but you got to drop the word. The word doesn't really matter.
Right.
It's just a word.
Yeah. That's true.
But yeah,
JLP was being a friend to him by saying, drop it.
Right.
Indeed.
I don't need that title for us to feel whatever way about each other,
Right.
I either respect you or I don't.
Indeed. Hake being a mama, somebody said.
Yesterday, Daniel called from Texas. That guy's pretty smart. I've listened to him call you quite a few years now. And you can tell he reads and all that in the EGR valve thing. And my whole thing with the EGR valve is
and you're talking about the engines, the diesel engines.
Right.
Uh-oh.
EGR valves.
We have a quick interruption, Manuel. I wanted to say hello to my friend Justin.
I don't want to interrupt if you're counseling.
He doesn't want to interrupt if I'm counseling, though.
No, you're fine. I can even hang up.
No, you don't have to hang up. You can hang on here. No, I'm not counseling. Nice to see you, man.
Nice to see you.
Right on. Nice to see you, Jesse. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, so you
Is
were
that
talking
the
about those.
Rhodesian?
Say again?
Was that the Rhodesian?
Yeah, the Rhodesian Ridgeback. From
Man, you guys should have him on your Punchie TV as a guest.
We have to be careful with him, though, because he said something that I could not independently confirm after the show. He said something about Trump in South Africa, and I don't know where he got it or if it's true at all. So one of the rules for being on the network is it has to be true, or you have to cite your sources, or if you have to be clear that you don't know, like I'm always do. You know how I'm quite clear usually when I say I don't know? But anyway.
You have flat earthers on here?
That's true. I have flat earthers. Yeah. It doesn't have to, but I'm talking about what I report. The stuff that I report, I'm citing my sources as the liberal media.
Right.
And then I say, you know, according to the liberal media. But anyway, we were talking about engines, diesel engines, and EGRs.
Yeah, an EGR valve, exhaust gas recirculation.
Yeah.
Mainly they were invented because back in the day, vehicles were carbureted, so you got a lot of excess fuel that dumped down the cylinders, you know, mattering on how it was tuned. So they used the EGR valve to suck exhaust gases back into the intake, like leftover fuel that wasn't burnt.
Yeah.
And it would, you know, put some fuel back in the motor. All right, cool. Well, now everything's fuel injected. You really don't need that EGR valve. You know, now that the computer can fine tune the amount of fuel to air mixture ratio.
Yep.
That the computer can handle it. You don't really need that EGR valve to recirculate CO2 or NOx back into your motor. An EGR cooler for a diesel is less efficient than an actual intercooler. An intercooler is what a turbo uses to cool the air down and compress it before it goes back into the motor. So it already has a cooling mechanism to cool the engine down or get colder air back in. The EGR is just a complete waste of time and a scam.
That's
in
interesting.
my mind.
Yeah.
I've done diesels before I got into welding and all that for like 10 years. And not saying that I did or did do this, but there was a place that I used to go to, and they took all that off. Take the EGR valve off, block it. Take the EGR valve cooler, block it. Take the DPF system off, all that stuff. Like, that's all just a waste of time and material. It gets in the way. It's not as efficient. Because you can get, like your buddy or your cousin that had that diesel out in Europe, getting like 30-something miles a gallon. My buddy's got a Volkswagen also, and he gets about 48 miles a gallon in his.
That's awesome.
EGR is deleted, no EGR cooler, and no DPF system. And it's a 2015. Crazy.
Not too bad.
I'm sure an EGR valve
10-year-old car.
Yeah, I'm sure an EGR valve has some substance, and it does work for something, but to me, you don't see any military vehicle at all with any type of that emission stuff on it. No military vehicle will have that on that because it makes it less reliable. And when you're in war, you can't have something that's unreliable. So they don't have EGR valves. They don't have DPF systems. They don't have no coolers. They don't have none of that on any type of military equipment.
Whoa. The plot thickens.
Right. So if you're putting soot, you've seen like where you're talking about the black smoke from the diesels, that's just soot. So if you're just plumbing that back into your intake, all you're doing is coating your intake with all this soot. And what happens is stuff builds up and it starts clogging and big chunks start falling down the cylinder, you know, and it'll eventually damage a ring, block up a valve, you know, a bunch of different things. I know you're not like a mechanic, you know,
right?
I get that. That's why I'm trying to like break it down because that's what I've done most of my life, that and welding.
Yeah.
I'm sure Daniel knows a lot more because I can tell he can read. Like, he really pays attention, like the history that he brings up, and like he's really methodical, whatever you call that word, about it.
Yeah. That's super interesting, man.
One other thing, you guys were talking about that drug, you and Jesse and whoever else, Nick, and them, about taking drugs and God and all that.
like mushrooms and ayahuasca and all that stuff to see God?
Right. So I've done mushrooms, not quite a bit, but I've done enough. And what I think is what people are seeing or realizing is that, because when I did it, that's what I realized. Like I always thought I was my thoughts, and then like when I took mushrooms, I really saw that I was separated from that. That really wasn't me, and that's what I was really saying was like, whoa, realization that like I am not my thoughts, I'm not my body. You know, like how Jesse talks a lot about like, oh, you're not your body, you're not your blah blah blah.
Yeah.
A lot of that clicked whenever I was on that, but it's not that I saw God or like it made me like believe in God. It just like, I don't think people realize that they're not who they think they are.
Yeah.
And then whenever they're on drugs, they're like, whoa, I had this whole idea of who I was and I'm not. And then, you know, comes a realization that they're just a phony or a fake, you know, then they start becoming real and handling their life. But I don't think you're seeing God. I just think you're finally seeing that you're not who you think you are. You're separating yourself from whatever's going on. You're running from something.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not against the notion that you can realize something from that. I'm not against it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a near-death experience, like people explain, because DMT is like released when you're going to die in your body. Your body will naturally release it.
Whoa.
And so people like, you know, they have this sensation that they're going to die, you know. Well, if you're going to die, you kind of like come to a realization with a lot of like shortcomings you've had in your life.
Yeah.
A lot of people won't face their problems. So whenever they do the drugs, it's just like a rush of like, well, here's all your problems that you've been ignoring.
Yeah.
Fix them or don't. And you know how some people go crazy and then some people don't.
That's interesting. Dang.
But I wouldn't advise. I mean, I've done mushrooms, but I've only microdosed, like small amounts at a time. I'm not trying to go full
Is this
lame or retard, you know?
Is this something that you still do, or that you no longer bother with it? Out of curiosity.
I haven't done it in probably like 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
I was kind of, well, you know, everyone always has a cure for everything, so I was kind of like depressed at that moment in my life. You've seen, so you understand my situation a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was like kind of depressed a little bit, and everyone's like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to try LSD, you need to try blah, 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 blah. And then so finally I just tried the mushrooms, and it helped out, but not that was like the cure-all. I just saw that I was just being a little wah-wah, you know?
Nice.
I saw like I'm being weak, I'm making excuses for everything. And then I, you know, realized I wasn't who I was, and then blah, blah, blah.
So that helped you realize that.
Yeah, it helped me realize just, I don't know, not to be so weak, you know? Like I just saw like I was being weak, making excuses for everything. But then seeing that I wasn't who I was, that really opened my eyes. And I think Jesse had a biblical question, like, are you a phony? And that's like right around the time I was taking those, and that right there was like eye-opening. I saw that I was a complete fake. I wasn't who I thought I was. All these ideas I built up about myself, I thought I was. Like, I had a whole life before my situation, and now it's different.
True.
And I see, like, whoa, dude, I was, like, making all that up, jumping through hoops to, like, please people or to please this image of myself. And that kind of erased it. But, you know, my situation's a little different. But I feel like that kind of helped me see that, but not to reach God, just to separate myself from my lunatic ideas.
Okay. That's cool. I've never done any of that stuff, but I have had moments, and I think a lot of people have, where your problems, if you will, like you mentioned, come to you in some of those quieter moments, and you think about death, you think about hell, you think about all of these things that this sense of dread comes in because you're not whatever. Like, you don't feel like you're living right and stuff like that. So I sort of, and also the notion that you're living like an artificial life, like it's dependent on your situation, your bodily situation and where you are and what you're doing. And all these things that are just basically you're really out of control. I've gone through that a little bit, and so I can kind of relate on that sense. And I suppose that you mentioned that drug that is released in your own body, DMT or something, that's
Yeah,
also released
DMT.
from these other drugs that people take.
Ayahuasca, yeah. Ayahuasca is mainly DMT. Mushrooms is just a psychedelic, psilocybin, but it's the same family.
Okay.
It'll give you the same exact effect and all that.
There have
it's
been
just the mushrooms are a little bit cleaner. You're not gonna throw up, and I won't do ayahuasca. I've wanted to, but there ain't no way I'll do it. I ain't gonna throw up all over the place to see what people see. I'm good off of that.
Yeah.
DMT, you can buy pure DMT and smoke it, but I don't think it's the same. Like, I've heard people smoking it, and they see all these like geometric figures and all this crazy. I just think they just like fry their brain a little bit, and they just think they saw something that's, when they, it's just not what it really is. It's all in their head. It's all made up.
Yeah, there's a lot of these guys, some of them come out and start preaching the good word of ayahuasca and preaching the good word of mushrooms. There's somebody who's called into the show and in the chat about pushing, oh, Jesus was actually, the bread was mushrooms.
Oh, I remember that.
And then there's some of these manhood, if you will, type of guys who are on Twitter and in the masculinity movement, for lack of a better word, who have also taken that ayahuasca stuff. It became quite well known. I don't know who popularized it first, but I heard about it from different people who have been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show, and you see them elsewhere on the internet talking about that stuff or writing about it on X and on their blog posts and stuff like that. And they see it as this sort of a transformative experience, like what you talked about, where you really examine yourself from it and see stuff about yourself and life and the phoniness of most of us live in our lives, phoniness of they themselves live in their lives. But I agree with your sentiment. I think it's better to just live a sober life and pray every day, pray in the morning, at night, and throughout the day. And I think that's probably better.
I think like those people, when they take the ayahuasca, they're already at a point in life where they're like desperate for whatever they're going through in life. Like their ego is finally about to fall apart, and they just have this idea of what their life and who they're going to be, and it's falling apart. So they do that, and then they're like, "Whoa, I didn't have to be like that. I didn't have to do all these hoops. I can just be who I need to be, not who they want me to be."
Yeah.
So I think it's just like a trick in their mind. Like they're falling apart already, and they go to this thinking, a last-ditch effort, and then, they cling on to it like if they saw God, instead of just realizing, like you said, like just doing it sober, going through it, facing it. Like, last time I was over there at the church thing, I said I was going to quit smoking, so I quit smoking for like a whole month. And, wow, big difference. I started smoking again. I see like, oh, okay, I'm lacking. What I'm doing is when I smoke is I'm like avoiding situations, avoiding problems, avoiding facing like a renter or something like that. And so now I see like, wow, I really was using the weed to like push things away or not face things. And that's what the drugs are really doing. Instead of you facing them, you're trying to have something else face it. And all that's doing is allowing you to ignore the problem instead of fixing it.
That's really interesting, man. I saw this post on X from somebody, and I actually really thought it pertinent. It was from one of these journalist guys, these center-right journalist guys who I reference a lot. Let's see if it's still his pinned tweet. It was his pinned post on X. Oh yeah, he says this: if you're a young man just have to zoom in this normal way, who doesn't sports gamble, smoke weed, or watch shmornography, porn, you will be restless. And he says it's the natural state of man. It's what society wants you to be afraid of. That's why you're offered unlimited ways to self-sedate. Harmless and helpless. Basically a comfortable slave. Isn't that kind of true?
It is true. Like, before my situation, never, ever, ever, ever smoked weed. Would not touch it. Wouldn't go near it.
Yeah.
Didn't care for it. But now, since now that my life's a lot slower, instead of facing things, I'm like, I was using that to like dilute the situation, kill some time in the day, get through things. You know, because I get high before I go to like my kid's parent-teacher conference because I don't want to deal with their mom or the teacher. You know, like I'm using these things to avoid facing reality or like having to fix a problem when it needs to be fixed. And then instead, I'm just like running through life like a little slave. You know, good little master, good little slave, not talking back, not being confrontational, not sticking up for myself. Like I see it's not all that it's made out to be. You know, some people can handle it, smoking like here and there, but I would highly, highly advise not to do it. It's not worth it in the long run.
Yeah, all of these things that spend your life, energy, time, that are
even when you're talking about the shmornography, like that is degrade. That'll tear your whole life apart.
Yeah,
make you tired. You'll chase that. It's constantly on your mind. And you're blinded to everything around you. And
right.
You bend the knee to any woman to get it, and terrible.
Yeah, all
terrible
that stuff.
What they've done to us.
Yeah, it's destroy, and he points out that it's destroying men.
Yeah,
it's true, man.
It makes them weaker, not as confident to go talk to women. They have this like fake idea, like women have a fake idea about love because they watch like The Notebook and all these love stories.
Yeah.
They think they have this man doting on them. Like that's not reality, dummy.
Yeah.
Same thing with men. Like just because you watch the shmornography, that's not the woman you're going to be with. No way.
Right.
So they get this false image, and then, like Jesse says, they get married, and they get married on the false pretenses of love, and they really don't love each other. It's just out of sex, and that's it.
And it's empty and it's hell.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm talking too much. I'll let you go.
Great call, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, good hearing from you.
Yeah, take care. CSAL in Tejas, Texas. What's up, CSAL, Ladito? How you doing?
¿Qué onda? Hola, Hake.
Hey.
Well, thank you for taking my call, Hake.
Yeah.
I called because that caller, I'm making some rice, so sorry for the background noise. I'll try to be quiet. But the caller about the friendship, I'm going to tell him what my dad, one of the first things I remember that my dad taught me, he said, I remember him saying, there are no friends in this world. Your only friend is God and your father. You know him?
Yeah. It's like you remind me of Stephen Wiley. It's Wiley Wednesday, by the way. One of his raps is Jesus is my best friend.
Literally, that's what my dad told me.
That's
my dad
funny.
was like, friends don't exist.
That's funny.
Don't exist. They are no friends. Like, your only friend is God. And that has helped me a lot. That I have found that to be very, very true. It's very few and far between people that literally just want to be your friend without any, strings attached or whatever.
Yeah. That's cool. Good dad, huh?
The best dad. My father was amazing. He was my hero. And also, Hake, what the heck happened yesterday with your caller?
Which one? Ardene?
Ardene, is that her name?
Yeah, from Colorado, the gal who wanted to talk about Citizens United and big pharma destroying America more than the deep state and the permanent bureaucracies and the corruption in the big government. And then she got hung up on me mentioning the native white population, and I wasn't even talking about the Indians, the American Indians. I was making a point that the native white population is more independent thinking, and they're less likely to fall for the madness that the immigrants and their children are falling for. But she didn't even let me finish my point.
I loved it. I loved it when she was like, "Oh, hey, don't go there, don't go there." And you're like, when she said that, I was like, "Oh, heck yeah, this is gonna be cool."
Mess and drama. That's funny.
Hey, don't go there. And you're like, "I am gonna go there. It's my show." Oh my god, it was so good.
She's acting like we're at a party or something, and you're not supposed to talk about that in polite conversation. And she's hung up on some dumb liberal idea about stolen land.
The beautiful thing is that it's a reminder of how far women have gone down in quality, thinking that they can tell a man what to do. Who do you think you are as a female? Telling a strange man what to do, bruh. What the heck?
That is crazy talk, huh?
It's insane. So I'm glad you put her in her place. I don't know who she is. This is the first time I hear her. I don't have anything against her, obviously.
Yeah.
But women need to be reminded, you don't tell men what to do.
And she's a boomer woman, if I'm not mistaken. I think she's in her 70s.
Yeah, well, that's why.
A spry
those are the
70s.
worst ones.
Yeah, a lot of the boomer women are really radical feminists, brainwashed. Shout out.
But we were sure well. Shout out. But we were sure well. Anyway, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, good to hear from you. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Ardene from Colorado. Nice. Let me read a few super chats. I did see some come in. Thank you, CSAL and the rest. Age of Inversion says, PSA, public service announcement. Let me see if this will work. Doing mushrooms is a terrible idea. As someone who indulged in almost everything in my day, mushrooms were a horrific experience that almost went very badly. Don't listen to these people pushing it. Yeah, nice. And other people elaborate on what that is. Make sure you follow the Hake report, as well as Jesse Lee Peterson and the Fallen State, by the way, and American Anchor Baby on Rumble. Bond puts out clips on Rumble too. Bond Rebuilding the Man. There's JLP. He raided my stream. Thank you. Yeah, so the Hake report on Rumble. Some of these people are knowledgeable, and you're less likely to be censored in some cases over on Rumble. Shout out to the D-Live crew. Let me double check on Buy Me a Coffee. And, oh yeah, Lin Yin Chin. I finally did read your answer, and I refunded you this one about, you don't send too many, Lin Yin Chin, I don't think. It's just I have to pay attention, and I thought I had screenshotted it, but maybe my mind is gone a little bit. And so, Forgive Yo Mama says that I skipped some of his or hers, and that was not intentional if it's true, but I might have. And I know that I had skipped this one about the biblical question and answer. Thank you, Lin Yun Chin. So, yeah, I read it to him today. Carver bought a coffee saying, hey, Hake, I'm putting together a big cabinet/cupboard thing right now, but there is no feet on the bottom. It's probably going to get rough on the, going to get rough on the tiles. Do you have any recommended household objects to use to protect the bottom of the cupboard and the floor from scratching each other? I was just thinking a little cardboard wedges, or maybe lining it with some thick tape. Yeah, you can do that. If you don't want to go to a store and get something, they have those things that you can order there that's a tack that you stick up into the wood, or particle board, or MDF, medium density fiberboard, or whatever. Furniture feet pins. Let's see. Those things. Those things might help. Or some of them are like stickers. Furniture feet stickers. Let's see. There's these things. They're just adhesive and it's like felt or something. Zoom in on that. Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe you're meant to attach it to a wall and have it above you and put something underneath it. So screw it into the wall if you can find the studs. There, whatever, sir. It's funny that you're asking me this. But yeah, there's all kinds of different things, actually. Yeah, cardboard wedges or a blanket. I don't know. No feet on the bottom. Useless. Or get a little carpet or a doormat, or I don't know how big your thing is. Good luck to you, Carver. Thanks for your coffee. Happy to be for a practical coffee. Nice. You got me into it too. So, people think that I'm autistic. I don't think I am. I mean, they didn't even have autism back then. In the 81, did they? Nice, thank you, Carver. Sweet. Yeah, good luck on that. So that's the super chats. Okay. We're approaching the top of the hour here. Like I said, it's Wiley Wednesday, Stephen Wiley, rated highly. Oh. And now she makes me want to play Best Friend, which I already had something else planned. Big Man. Big Man is a cool song. What's up, David? Nice to see you. Over in the... what am I doing? Over in that crew. SSRIs. Don't do SSRIs, kids. Oh. Let's talk about a little bit of news. They're going after anything Trump is doing or his administration is doing. They're acting like it's something bad. How is Pete Hegseth doing? The far-left rhino outlet National Review, just off the deep end. National Review is like, they came out with this Never Trump thing his first time. February 13th article, so about just less than a week ago, Pete Hegseth walks back the day before his policy announcement on Ukraine and NATO. It's an article by this person called Mark Antonio Wright. Mark Antonio Wrong. Been cautiously optimistic on his appointment as Secretary of Defense. It's undoubtedly true that a culture of waste, inefficiency, and rot is built up in the Pentagon. That's the defense, basically, offices. In these parlous times, U.S. military, look at this obnoxious ad. Don't look at it. U.S. military needs to have a laser focus on rebuilding strength and streamlining as a war-winning organization, or prevent war from happening because you're so tough. The growing threat from communist China, oh Lord, demands exactly such a force. I sort of scoff at the communist China scaremongering a little bit. Pete Hegseth's rhetorical emphasis on de-wokifying the military, empowering the grunts, and creating a merit-based culture of excellence is welcome. Well-known communication skills, years on TV at Fox News guy. His town hall with the Pentagon staff took PR savvy, deployed and tweeting out images of early morning physical PT, physical, I forget what it is, training session with U.S. special operators, something like that. Blah, 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 blah. So his last 48 hours last week were so surprising and disappointing. In prepared remarks at a gathering of NATO, he said, United States committed to sovereign and prosperous Ukraine, but it's an unrealistic objective for the West to push for a return to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders. Sounds reasonable to me. How is that disappointing? Indeed, it would be an illusory goal that would only prolong the war and cause more suffering. Indeed, why are you even fighting and subsidizing that evil war? Moreover, while negotiating the end of the war must include robust security guarantees to the Ukraine, I'm adding the word the, Trump administration does not believe NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. Yeah, why you need to be NATO? Now, reasonable minds can disagree on those pronouncements. Okay, so then what's your problem? Their outcomes more likely than not. I don't see why the U.S. should be unilaterally offering major concessions to Russia up front without getting anything substantial in return. How about the end of the war? What more do you want? Again, I don't think I'm crazy for an analyst. So he's just nitpicking? What are you talking about? I don't care. After that, he walked back, according to him. The key points at NATO HQ, questioner said, I want to be clear about something that pertains to NATO membership not being a realistic outcome. It's something stated a part of my remarks here. Blah, 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 blah. Trump said everything is on the table in his conversations with Putin and Zelensky. What did he say? I like Trump. I like Trump. I don't know if this is what's happening, but a lot of times Trump's people will say something and Trump is like, no. It's like one time, what this has reminded me of is when Trump overrode what evil, lame-o, simp, beta, shout out, Vice President, right pick, J.D. Vance said, we're not going to pardon those violent January 6ers. The pardons won't include the pardons are for the nonviolent ones. Supposedly he said something to that effect, right? And Trump pardoned all of them. Nice. So you never know. I like that. Keep them guessing. Nice. Sweet. It's not my job as Secretary of Defense to define the parameters of the President of the United States as he leads some of the most complex and consequential negotiations in the world. Everything is on the table with Putin and Zelensky. Although Zelensky doesn't want to come to the table, they're saying. Blah, 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 blah. So he's calling that amateur hour, and he's calling it a bungling. Fair enough. I don't care. Did the White House, when Trump did he change his mind? You know what else Trump does? He does what other experts have called, experts whom I respect, have called A/B testing. You test something out, see if it works, see how that works, and you test something else out and see if it works. And then you have a clearer vision of how to go forward. A/B testing. But this guy is calling it very disappointing. You want to cry about it? Moment for a team supposed to be taking over from and improving the feckless performance of crooked Joe Biden's foreign policy team. He's given the impression that the Secretary of Defense doesn't speak for the president, which is a dangerous place for us to be. So that just came down to just fear-mongering and cry about it from this guy. Who is this guy? Let me see if it will go. Mark Antonio Wright. This guy. He looks a little bit Hispanic, notwithstanding. Close. Notwithstanding, is that a... I shouldn't say this. I'm not going to say it. Okay, I guess I can say it because people describe white guys as having a punchable face. And his face makes me think of that. But I disavow punching, of course. I'm not a woman. Women get to punch all they want. Look at it. Look at him crying about this. Trump's indefensible proclamation. This is more recent. This was just on Saturday or something. Leave me alone. I don't care about your free articles. Do. He who saves his country does not violate any law. That's right. He said that on Saturday. Indeed. Trump did not violate any law. Napoleon Bonaparte, perhaps, said something to that effect. Apocryphal quote. May or may not have been Napoleon Bonaparte, but that's what he mentions. Deformed his republic into an empire, claims he. Himself as the monarch. A genius, by the way, Napoleon. A very stable genius, a great man. Whatever. Cry about it, Mr. Mark Antonio, right? You rhino. If he's a rhino. National Review is known as... National Review is known for being rhinos. Supposedly conservative. A joke. Neocons. Commies. Rhino commies. It's terrible. I disavow it. What's going on, though, in America? CNN is saying food recalls seem to be on the rise. Seem to be making headlines anyway, more than ever. Making headlines, okay? So whether it's on the rise or not, they're making headlines seemingly more than ever. Many involving familiar brands and household staples. If you go to Trader Joe's, you go to Costco, you go to Sam's Club, Walmart, all these places have stuff that's sometimes recalled. Listeria, botulism in the tuna cans, potentially, maybe, I don't know. I know that a lot of these food processing places and packaging places are not worked by normal Americans. Or am I wrong? 300 food recalls in the United States in the last year, associated with nearly 1,400 supposed illnesses. Deadly, too, in some cases. Oh, no. Pardon me. I'm reacting because I inadvertently clicked buttons, and it's a pain. It's an article by Deidre McPhillips and Annette Choi in Common Nonsense. And let me see if I can scroll. But anyway, the food recalls are on the rise. Forget it. I don't care about you. Watch out for your food. Don't trust it necessarily. Oh, I shouldn't have closed that down. Let me just open that back up. It's a good thing I have that clicked there. Terrible, huh? Watch out. You can never... No, I don't want to do that one. You can never know for sure what's going on in the world. That's pretty. Okay, what else? Real quick. There's another thing that I don't like that Trump is doing. Real quick. The IVF stuff. In the United States, on Tuesday afternoon, Trump signed an executive action directing federal agencies to explore ways to expand access, communist buzzword, to in vitro fertilization, IVF, and fertility treatments, which may not be as bad as IVF. I heard IVF is kind of bad. You make a lot of babies and then you kill them and you decide who lives or dies among these embryos or little baby things. Including proposals to reduce costs, the order set a 90-day deadline for the Domestic Policy Council to issue recommendations. The CEO for the National Fertility Association called the action a good first step. Job insurance, right? I shake my head. Congress yet to pass legislation to protect IVF, in vitro fertilization nationwide. I don't think it's their purview. And previous attempts were blocked by based Republican or Republicant, I'm not sure, maybe not based, lawmakers. But, you know, IVF kills babies, and how about have kids at a younger age again? Make young ladies adults again, rather than selfish egomaniacs like they've been. Calls for radical transparency from the government. I actually don't have that strong of an opinion on it because I don't know it. But universal coverage, see, he's basically Obama, of IVF treatment after Supreme Court nominees helped to overturn the ridiculous and evil Roe v. Wade, leading to a wave of restrictions in proper Republican-led states, somewhat proper, including some that threatened access to IVF by trying to define life as beginning at conception. Life objectively begins at conception. It is a life. And you're for killing it because you don't care about life, actually, or what's right. But anyway, Trump was at his Florida residence and club Mar-a-Lago Tuesday, signed another executive order, memo, blah, 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 blah. Detailed the waste of fraud and abuse found by DOGE. So the Office of Management and Budget got to do that. DOGE has often fallen short of the promises of transparencies, they claim. Be quiet. Who wrote this? I think this is AP propaganda. Far left extremist AP, right? Yeah, Associated Press. We've talked about them. Darlene Superville and Michelle L. Price wrote this article. Tammy Duckworth, she's that wheelchair-bound gal who all of a sudden she supports Dick Cheney supporting Kamala Harris. She's wheelchair bound because of like a helicopter accident. She was in the military. She's like, I started to say Hawaiian, but like some type of Pacific Islander gal, I think. Some type of Asian looking gal. Trump's executive order does nothing to expand access to IVF. He's the reason IVF is at risk in the first place. Be quiet, gal. Look at all these women. But anyway, Trump is going to try to make it happen. We do want more babies, but IVF is not the way. IVF, I don't think. Is not the way. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Last quick item, and then I'll get back to your calls. Hang tight, callers. Far left AP also states that Trump, and CNN was covering this too, seemed to blame Zelensky. Whoa, what are all these people? For the Ukraine war. Was Ukraine to blame for the war with Russia? Interesting take from a man who thinks differently. There's a bunch of police recruits dying, by the way. In their first day of training, more blacks dying per capita, by the way. I wonder if that's because of the quality of the police departments where they're training. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that U.S. President Donald J. Trump, living in a Russian disinformation space, just spouting off at the mouth, this little man. And I respect him on some level, a little bit. Regarding his previous day's comments about the Ukrainian leader's approval rating, Trump said Zelensky's rating stood at 4%. The approval ratings haven't been reliable in Ukraine because of the fighting. Interesting. Keith Kellogg, U.S. Special Envoy for the Ukraine and Russia, arrived in Kiev. They misspell it, K-Y-I-V. They're spelling it the Ukrainian way. Shout out, Ukrainians. I spell it K-E-I-V. That's the Russian way. After Trump told reporters that Ukraine should never have started the war and could have made a deal to prevent it. Wow. Wow. Zelensky gives me stubborn vibes. judgmental vibes. He's kind of like a Biden, seemingly. You know how Biden is just stubborn, doesn't want to talk to Putin? That's how Zelensky strikes me. I listened to an interview at the behest of Denny in Bulgaria, who is no fan of Putin. He doesn't think Putin is the most interesting man in the world. And Zelensky, it was translated into English for me by AI. He was on this Jewish, Russian, maybe, or Ukrainian Jewish, who speaks Russian better than he speaks Ukrainian, man's podcast. Lex Fridman. And this guy wanted, Putin's totally crazy. Putin is totally crazy. No forgiveness. But from that interview, I gained a little bit of respect for this guy. The headline from far left AP, Trump and Zelensky trade barbs as U.S.-Ukraine relations sour over the war with Russia. Good. It should be sour. Everybody, I mean, the war has gone sour. It's not fresh. It's getting old. It's been old. Everybody, all the Ukrainian flags, they're all like faded now. Nobody cares about the Ukraine. And if they pretend like they do or they feel like they do, they just have this ego thing about Russia doesn't deserve anything and they got to pay and other unrealistic drama mess. Whereas Trump, living in the real world, says, let's put this thing to bed. I'm trying to zoom in and it's bugging me. Nice. A little bit. Look, AP spelling it Kiev. It's Kiev. Kiev. Relations between Zelensky and President Trump deteriorated, so they claim, rapidly Wednesday. Trump will have dinner with him. It'll be fine. Or whatever. Zelensky said Trump was living in the disinformation space. Trump called Zelensky a dictator without elections, which is true. They've suspended elections because of the war. Sure to complicate efforts to end the war. No, this is a step in the right direction. You're getting it all out there. You speak your piece. You hash out your disagreements. You're making things simpler. Stop your editorializing Justin Spike and Hannah Arivova of the far-left lame-o AP, anti-Trump, anti-American extremists who won't even call the Gulf of America what it is. Zelensky said he would like Trump's team to be more truthful. Oh, please, don't talk to me about truth. You're not even a Christian, man. As he offered his first response to a series of striking claims that Trump made a day earlier, including supposedly falsely suggesting, they're calling it falsely suggesting Kiev was to blame for the war. Well, don't blame me for saying it, Kevin Howe, but is it true or is it not true that it takes two to tango? Or in some cases, many to tango, because the whole world is all involved in this war. Much of the world is all involved with enabling these warmongers to go at it. North Korea helping Russia, and the whole lame-o so-called West, anti-white West, and the East is anti-white too. I won't take that away from you, Kevin Howe. Pretending like this is important. That it's important to keep them killing each other. The comments were a staggering back and forth between the so-called leaders. One of them is a leader. The other one is a remarkable person, I will grant you. Zelensky is a remarkable person. I don't know if he's a leader. He seems kind of like a Biden, a stubborn person. You know, these people, they just want to yap and insult people to no end. Trump insults people you could call it an insult. They feel insulted, but he's just constructively criticizing them to an end. An end comes. But with Biden, he just cut off all communication with Putin. What good is that? U.S. provided supposedly crucial military equipment to Kiev to fend off the invasion and use their political weight to defend the Ukraine and isolate Russia on the world stage. While crooked Joe Biden was in the black on the then at that point black on the inside White House. What a lame-o. Trump started charting a new course, reaching out to Russia, which is a good thing. Pushing for a peace deal, also a good thing. Senior officials from both countries held talks Tuesday. Yeah, little Marco Rubio. The Secretary of State, whatever he is, held talks discussing improving ties. That's a step in the right direction. Years of frosty relations. Nice. So, sweet. I'm happy about it. I'm very happy about that. Because I don't like them. I don't like it. I don't care that much, really. But I don't like them killing each other. That's not nice. Stop it. Stop fighting. Can we get along? Why are you getting dementia ads, Hake? All right. Calls now. Calls, guys. But not yes now. And while I'm taking this call, I may be slightly distracted because I'm going to schedule Joel Friday TV. But I want to get to Glenn in New York. Waiting.
Oh, boy.
What's up, man?
Hey, man.
Hey.
Long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been busy.
Cool.
So I heard you going on about the Ukraine situation, and it's very confusing for the average person, I think. Number one, during the Obama administration, he did I believe it was an executive order or an outright bill that was voted on to allow disinformation and propaganda to be disseminated through the media. I don't believe it was called exactly those words, propaganda, but this is in fact what he did. He started, and he's just a puppet.
And where did you get that information?
It's in. You can look it up. Look up Obama's propaganda laws.
Oh, his propaganda laws?
Yes.
And was the guys? Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Was the guise of the propaganda laws to fight against misinformation, or was it to push what he openly called misinformation and propaganda?
To disseminate anything that they deem necessary to achieve any goal that his higher-ups ordered to be done. And so they co-opted the entire media system. They saw this. They saw that the Internet was going to be a problem.
Right, and so they wanted in on it real quick, kind of like people want
they
AI.
wanted to control the narrative. And in any organized crime, if anyone's done any reading and research about organized crime that's been exposed over the last 40, 50 years, there's a hierarchy. It's a very strong hierarchy. Without it, nothing can actually work. So the guys at the top are never seen or committing or can be pointed at for a crime. So the underlings, what they call the underlings, or the soldiers and what have you, they commit the crimes. They take the rap. They have an oath of silence, supposedly, until somebody says, "I don't want to do the time for this. I didn't profit from all this, so I'm going to spill the beans." So, back to this governmental the problem. The Ukraine was an interesting entity. Is that and let me start first with Russia. Russia was really never our enemy until after World War II. As a matter of fact, there's a famous photograph of FDR, the left's golden child, Winston Churchill, and Joseph Stalin sitting together. They were called the Big Three. Russia, during the revolution, our American Revolution, actually put in place a blockade on the West Coast so the British couldn't attack from that area. If they hadn't, Washington, Alaska, all of those areas, and possibly California would have fell into the control of the English, because we would not have been able to get troops out there fast enough. Anyway, I digress. So Russia
What? Are you talking about that's the American Revolution?
That's correct. The Russian, what was Russia, the empire, the Tsarists, they blockaded the English.
I didn't think that had any. The English were over in the Pacific.
Oh yes.
I've never heard.
Island, Washington State.
Call me ignorant, but I've never heard this before. I didn't even think that the American. I didn't think that America.
Navy.
I didn't.
Support blockade the English during the Red. Yes.
But there was obviously no California, Oregon, Washington in existence at that point.
That's correct. That's correct.
I didn't know that American colonists had even reached that far.
You see, I had to find this out all on my own. I used to cut school. They didn't want me in class because I was disruptive. If I'd ask questions,
you sound like it
are inappropriate. So I would sit in the library and read books that they still hadn't destroyed. And what the education system didn't do is teach people proper history of our wars, who is our allies, who is our enemies.
Yeah.
And so let me go back to Russia. Russia was our friend. As a matter of fact, we have a huge amount of Russian immigrants in this country. In Brooklyn, where I was born and raised for a short time, there's parts of Brighton Beach and Coney Island area that's called Little Odessa.
Odessa, which is Russia/Ukraine, right?
Well, Ukraine. See,
Ukraine was Russia at that point.
Well, see, the communist threat supposedly that the Nazis were fighting moved into Ukraine to try to get close to the front so they could eventually, their plan was to invade Moscow and take over Russia. And so there was an entrenched Nazi significant population and sympathizers in that area that's called Ukraine now. Ukraine once belonged to the Tsarist nations, I believe. So the Second World War created a lot of confusion, a lot of power struggle. So, and it shows that the reason that Ukraine never was able to join NATO or become part of the greater European cause, because the ones that knew the truth would scream bloody murder about it and say, no, we can't allow this. We still have, Nazis hiding out there. Of course, they deny this. They can deny this and disseminate, different stories in the news. And the problem is you can't, people say, well, Google it. Well, problem with going to Google now is that the government says, well, we don't want this little bit of information. You got to take it down.
Well, so Google themselves have an agenda too.
Yes, it's convoluted.
Yep.
But they do get a marching order from a globalist head. For a while, I believe, while these Democrats have been in power in our country, the globalists sent the marching orders down. If we see all the corruption that's going on, they said, and they gave them means and ways to steal and rob, as long as they laundered some of it back to the heads, just like I was talking before about organized crime. Everyone has to pay up to the head. If you don't pay tribute, you get wiped out, you get taken out. Something gets exposed, whether they have a tape of you having some inappropriate relationship.
What are you talking about?
About what was really running our system, our politics in this country. We're not Americans. The Democrats that were in office, Obama, and even before, even the Clintons, Obama, Biden, these, and even some of the Republicans too, are handled and bought and paid for because of compromising business deals, personal deals, etc. It's very hard to sort out and put it all into a quick explanation on your show. But if people would go and get books, some of the books are still available in the library. Tragedy and Hope is a great one.
I don't need you to be promoting all these different books. I don't even know what you're talking about, man.
Okay, he was the archivist for the Foreign Relations Committee. Anyway, what I go back to is that what a lot of what's on the internet is not so much truth. It's been convoluted to give a narrative to point in one direction.
I understand that.
The whole thing with Ukraine is, it was, and this is why Zelensky doesn't want to capitulate or anything else, is because there was a money laundering system in place there. And
I don't know if any of this stuff that you're saying is true, man. People say this stuff, and I don't know.
Okay, you don't know. That's fine. You don't know. But what I'm saying is, watch in the future. If they don't outright assassinate him, and he gets the word that this isn't working out for him, he's going to try to expose the corrupt people involved.
Who, Zelensky?
We know were the Bidens. We know the Bidens were working at the Burisma oil, the energy system. The pipeline was probably blown up by our CIA.
All right, I get your point, man. The people are corrupt.
Okay, you could call me a conspiracy theorist.
No, I just said I get your point. People are corrupt.
Yes, they are very corrupt.
Yeah, but you don't know what I don't get the feeling that you know necessarily the truth of what you're saying.
I'm closer than most. I'm not saying I'm 100% correct.
So then why are you making these claims? And why does it matter?
Because these are things that I've read.
But why does it matter?
Before any of this happened.
Uh-huh.
This has all been laid out.
Why should we care or no?
Okay, do you know who Albert Pike was?
No. Answer my question. Why should we care or no?
Why should we care? Because we're being led down a road to war with each other.
Who's we? Who's we with? What's that mean?
That a civil war is an option for these people. If they can't control the narrative and they can't
But why should we care?
Why should we care? Do you care about shooting your neighbor or your cousin or your relatives? That if martial law is declared and the southern states say, hey, you're either for us or against us, and you guys pick up their guns.
What can you do about that?
Excuse me?
What can you do about that?
What can we do about that? By educating the people.
That's not gonna do anything.
Oh, yes, they can.
It's not.
That's why we have the Second Amendment.
No, the Second Amendment is not for education.
It sure is.
No.
It's to take back the education.
No. Yes, no, it's not. I don't think so.
What's the Second Amendment? Is to
the right to carry
protect us from
awesome
a
guns.
Government, correct?
Right. Not anything about education. It's not going to stop anything.
Tyranny comes in all forms. It's
all
already been enacted.
I appreciate your call, Glenn in New York, but you're all over the place. Too much for me.
Well, you asked me a question. I'm trying to answer your question.
But you didn't. It wasn't efficient.
Okay.
It's good to hear from you. Call me another time.
Okay, bye, Jay.
All right, take care. I don't know. I take part of the blame, Glenn. I take part of the blame. I take all the blame. I'll put it at I take all the blame. My apologies, Glenn in New York. Call me again. Well, let's try it again some other time. Rick in Hampton, VA is on the line over here. Rick, how you doing, man?
What's up?
Oh. Rick, you Gen Xer. I think he's Gen X. I'll get back to you, Rick. Robert in Kansas on the line here. Robert, go ahead.
Hey, Mr. Hake, thanks for taking my call. To the last caller, Glenn, very smart guy, really smart.
Yep.
Thinking that the Nazis were evil, though, is you're just listening to Satan, right? The Nazis, when you say the word Nazi, that just means Christian, okay? That means somebody who, no, it's true. That's what.
Not necessarily.
No. It just means Christian, someone who believes that marriage between a man and a woman, that's a Nazi, right? Someone who, it's just Christianity.
Okay.
That's what the Nazis are fighting for.
Whatever.
Okay. So, Hake, do you know why we are at war with Russia? Do you know, sir?
I'm not at war with Russia, and I don't think Trump is at war with Russia. So I disavow this question.
Okay, but the world government, right? The NATO, the United Nations is at war with Russia. Do you know why?
Not exactly, but I have a theory.
Well, okay, so in 2007, right, there was a transition from George Bush to Barack Obama, and Putin, I guess, thought in that time of certain weakness in our country, we're transitioning, he made a speech in 2007, he made a speech where he cried on camera.
Who, Putin?
In front of the cameras. Putin cried on camera, and what he said is that basically that we are going to relinquish Russia from the worldwide slavery of international banking systems. And so what he did is
BRICS.
You know how we, yeah, well, BRICS is another international thing, but what he did is he took like we have the Federal Reserve in America, the Fed. They had a similar international banking system, which is owned by private individuals, mostly European.
Yeah, you've told me about a lot of this stuff, the international banker stuff. And so he's getting away from the dollar dominance?
Well, in a way, yes. But what he's done is that, like, when we pay taxes, like Russia pays taxes, or England or the U.S., we pay taxes. And what people don't understand is those tax dollars do not go to our country. They go to the private owners of the Federal Reserve here in America. And Russia had a similar setup where they had a private central bank that was independent of the Russian nation. So what Putin did is he nationalized that banking system, meaning that the money that they pay in taxes will stay in Russia. So it's a nationalization of the bank, meaning that it's no longer connected to the world banking system like in France or Italy or Egypt or wherever. They have almost every nation under control. The ones they don't have under control, you could probably name off real quick, right? Iran, North Korea. There's certain things they don't control, and they're really mad about it.
Okay.
Well, what Russia did, what Putin did was nationalize their bank, Hake, where their money circulates back into Russia and not into the private coffers of a Jewish European that owns their banking system. And
so that's why that's why you say that the global, and if that is true, what you're saying, I don't know it to be true. That is why the global homo world is against Russia. Interesting, man.
It has to do with money, and they want everybody to be slaves, right? Slavery, taxation are the same word. You're a slave. That's why you never own your home. You don't own your income.
True.
You pay tax on every single transaction you make.
Fair.
And what Russia did is say, you international Jews are no longer going to take our money.
Hey, I like the international Jews. You watch your mouth.
Well, do you like Henry Ford or the international Jew? Henry Ford.
I like Henry Ford too, but he's dead. Rest in peace.
Well,
and his kind are lost in America. But there is an uprising.
Hey.
Anyway, I disavow all this stuff. Robert, I got to run, man. Thank you for your interest in Take.
All right, hey, look up that speech, 2007 Putin cries speech where he announces that they're taking their bank out of the international order, and that's when the war started, sir. That's when it's about money. It's about control of money. We're all slaves. We all pay taxes. The Lincoln was supposed to liberate us from slavery, and they just put everyone into slavery. And that's the big trick. Yeah.
Take care, dude. All right. Bye. Take care. Ronnie in Ohio is on the line, I do believe. Ronnie, thank you for calling and holding, man. Go ahead.
My brother Hake, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Yeah, you had a lot of whacked out callers calling in today. I'm like, sheesh.
I know, but they know stuff that is... There may be more merit to what they say just because they come off wacky or disjointed or saying stuff that you're not supposed to say.
Yeah.
I can't say everything that they say is true or false. I can't say that it's false. I can't say that it's true. That's my point. Maybe.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, some of the stuff you can. That guy said Obama took over in 2007 and he wasn't elected until 2008.
But that's different from the point of what he was talking about. because that
Yeah,
was
he
sort
said
of
it was
irrelevant.
a Putin speech in 2007, and power in America was being transitioned from Bush to Obama. And I'm like,
Yeah,
you're already off to a false start. But I heard him out.
But there is truth to that. Even though you're right, it was 09 when Obama took over. The Obama excitement started in 07, and Bush's support was way down in 07, 08, as I recall.
Yeah, things were really, really bad before Obama got there, for sure.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about Citizens United. I know you read my super chat yesterday, and I could not tell if you agree with me or if you disagree with me on the point that I made about only U.S. citizens should be able to donate money to our elections, especially the federal ones.
I don't have a strong opinion on that subject because I don't really understand the problem with them, with the corporations donating major money to these whatever they are, these people, politicians, these people who are running for office. I don't like no amount of money is going to convince me, or no amount of money funded propaganda is going to convince me Trump is not the man for the job, or that Obama was the man for the job. You know, I get that there's a whole lot of suckers, and it takes a lot of money to reach a whole lot of suckers in America who are swayed by propaganda. But I can already see the men for what they are, you know? But that's kind of a side note.
Right. I'm talking about the fact that legally non-citizens, so not even foreigners or illegal immigrants, but people who don't live in this country, they should not be able to donate money to kind of influence not just the presidential elections, but also Congress. I strongly feel that way, because if a non-citizen, that would be like if we had a Alu Akbar candidate running.
Citizens United is an American group of people, right?
Hold on, Citizens United is just the name of the case, kind of like Roe v. Wade and.
No, but it's also the name of a nonprofit organization, or whatever organization it is. I don't know if it's nonprofit. That was a conservative-oriented group of people that turned into a corporation at one point, and they sued the FEC, federal FCC,
right.
Whatever, FEC,
right. So
Federal Elections Commission.
What the Supreme Court found, and they said that donating money is a form of free speech, and that corporations should be able to utilize that free speech to donate to people's political campaigns. I strongly disagree with it, because even if it's an American corporation, that's still not a U.S. citizen.
What's the problem with an American corporation donating to a campaign?
That's how you funnel dirty money into campaigns. So what happens?
What's dirty about it?
What you mean? What's dirty about it?
What's dirty about a corporation funding a campaign, as opposed to a dirty individual funding a campaign?
So individuals, when we give money to political, when we give money to people who are running for office, we're using our own money to say, hey, I support your message and I want you to be successful in your campaign. Here's some money. When corporations do it, we're talking multi-million dollars. We're talking their power and their ability to control politicians and then to lobby for the policies they want.
Yeah.
It overpowers just the standard U.S. citizen.
Okay.
So we have an unlevel playing field. And whenever corporations are the ones that are influencing politicians, that's when you get into fascism.
Or commie capitalism, as I call it.
Communism and fascism are different things. When we're talking about corporations controlling the state, that's fascism, and that's not what our founding fathers were building our country on. So anytime we creep towards something that goes against what they were for, a red flag goes up. And then you can either put the red flag down if it seems like it's okay, or you put up more red flags if it seems like we're treading in dangerous waters. And that's what we're doing when we allow non-citizens to control who goes and represent citizens.
So you would agree with me that Obamacare, the government being in bed with these mutual control between the government and the corporations, was not a good thing. That was commie capitalism.
Say that one more time.
Obamacare, getting the government all involved in, and other things prior to that, in the so-called healthcare world and the insurance world. It was commie capitalism. It was not a good thing.
Commie capitalism. We could always talk about other examples. I know Obamacare can't be the only one that you have.
Of course not.
Of that, and if it was, it's like, well, that argument gets struck down because we've had a few other presidents sitting in the White House, and none of them have overturned Obamacare.
That doesn't strike down the argument. That has nothing to do with the argument.
Right, and that's why I'm saying, like, we can talk about other examples, but what I wanted to focus on was the money part of it legally being okay for a corporation. It's legally okay for somebody like Elon Musk to come in and give multi-million dollars to Trump. It would be the same thing if George Soros was going to give multi-million dollars to the next Democratic presidential candidate, whoever that may be, if they even survive and make it to the next election. But my point is, if, from a local standpoint, from a state standpoint, citizens, U.S. citizens are the ones that should have that representation at the federal level. And it shouldn't be people in the House of Representatives to be representing their constituents, not the corporations. And I feel strongly about that.
And all that lobbying money, too? You want to get rid of that lobbying stuff?
All of it.
I don't know how. I don't know if it's reasonable or realistic. A lot of this campaign finance law stuff. These aren't like these violations. You know how Dinesh D'Souza got stung for a campaign finance law breaking thing. It didn't seem like a real. It didn't seem like a real actual moral law being broken. You know what I mean? It seems so artificial.
And there will always be cases of people pushing the limits of certain laws to the extreme. Like, there are people that get sued for fraud every day. That's, it's not really a true fraud case, but that doesn't mean that fraud should now all of a sudden not be a thing where we just don't even look for it anymore.
But fraud, I can understand. Campaign finance, I don't get. I understand your thing about money can sway people. Money leads to obligation sometimes, whether it's real or imagined obligation. And some people are swayed by money. A guy like Clarence Thomas, I don't think he's swayed by money. Although he has billionaire friends who give him gifts and help him out and do this and that. I don't think that Clarence Thomas. Example. I don't think there's. No, he's a great example because he's been given a lot of stuff and they're pretending like he's swayed by that money. And I don't see it. Do you think that Clarence Thomas is swayed by money?
I don't know him personally, so I can't speak on it.
Exactly. But when I look at that man, he seems solid.
I wouldn't go that far.
He doesn't seem solid to you?
I don't want this to be an indictment on Clarence Thomas or his character or his ability to perform his job.
Yeah.
My concern is when big pharma, people who are big on climate change, whatever the case may be, if they are responsible for politicians getting elected, they got them in their pocket. And the best way to get those big corporations to keep politicians out of their pocket is to just get money completely out of politics. And that would start with Citizens United.
It's sort of addressing symptoms and not real issues to say just the fact that somebody's getting money means they're in the pocket. There's people who claim, I think it's erroneous, that Trump is owned by Jews. And I don't think that that's a valid statement because
Yep.
just because he's you can't find somebody who's more his own man than Trump in the government. I don't think, other than maybe Clarence Thomas is also a solid guy.
I won't disagree with you on any of those points, but if money is not involved at all, then they really can't even make that accusation.
But that's
so it's
a
not
dream.
Even a conversation.
There's always going to be money involved in some way or form. So anyway, man, I gotta close up, but I get your point. Your point is taken. I understand your point now.
Yeah, Riz, just real quick in a nutshell, because to me, like, I don't know how many other people, but the local politicians and the ones that represent us in Congress, they don't campaign hard for individuals and try to understand what the issues are of the people that they're supposed to represent. As long as they got enough money from a few corporations and they can get elected, they could really not even they couldn't care any less about the people that they're supposed to be representing and collecting tax dollars from.
Yeah, the human heart is evil.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me get in. I'm sure we'll talk some time. I know you got to wrap up.
Sounds good, Ronnie in Ohio. Take care, man.
Yes, sir. You do the same.
All right. Unfortunately, I cannot get to Rick, my main man from Hampton, VA, and Greg in Canada. I got to close up shop. Joel Friday TV coming up next, guys. It's Wiley Wednesday, Stephen Wiley, that is. Let's listen to Big Man. Black History Month. It's rap. Christian.
I got me a rap with a story to tell, and you better listen good unless you want to go to hell. My real name's Steve, my friends call me Spike, but you can call me anything, whatever you like. My neighborhood was rough, these dudes were bad, and by the time I was 12, I was getting real mad. Yeah, I was the king, I was really on time. I grown up with nothing but was starting to climb. I'm rapping with a homework about a plan. All he ever wants to talk about is the big man. He talks about a guy who makes him feel high. I said, he's a dealer, how much do you buy? He said, I'm not talking drugs. I gave up on the game, so chill out for a minute. I give the dude's name. His name is Jesus, the best in the land. So let me rap to you about the big man.
1989? I'm not sure.
I never heard it before, it was all brand new, but it sounded like the kind of thing I wanted into. My friend told me how the man died for me, how the soldiers nailed his body upon the tree. I said, why did he do it? What's in it for me? He said, if Jesus hadn't paid the price, you couldn't get free. But I'm already free. You're living in the past. This is the freedom that is really gonna last. He said, if you believe Jesus died for you, he will give you a life that is totally new, and you will live forever. That's not a lie. I said, it sounds good to me.
I think I'll give it a try.
I went back home, sat in my favorite chair. I bowed my head and then I prayed this prayer. I said, big man, come into my life today. I was mixed up yesterday, but I believe today that Jesus Christ is God. He is the master plan.
Ooh.
Now I've got it together because I've got the big man. The devil is real. He used to tell me what to do. Now I'm tired of his lies and our relationship is through. He works real hard to do what he can. He says, you're okay. You don't need the big man. The devil is tricky. The devil is a liar. He wants you to go to hell and to burn up in the fire.
What's up, MX Murder?
There are so many ways the devil likes to attack. He says you're no good if you don't own a Cadillac. He likes to see people get locked up in jail and see the school kids go all out and fail. He loves to see people curse and swear at one another. He likes to see a dude go out and kill his own brother. Well, no one can stop what the devil can do. That is no one but the big man inside of you.
I gotta go. Joel Friday TV coming up next,
With
guys.
Jesus, I'll tell you all things can happen. And that's the reason I'm standing here rapping. You may think that I'm tripping. You may think I'm jive. Well, no matter what you think, the big man's alive. They may call you names, look at you and laugh a lot. But remember where they're going to. It's gonna be hot.
I'm late. Take care.
I'm here trying to tell you how it really is. The big man's getting jealous. He wants you to be his. So when you hear this rap, coming out of your box, then turn it up loud till it blows off your socks. When you're rapping with the big man, I want you to blast, cause he and his people that are really gonna last. Jesus is the answer for me and for you, so let's go and tell the world that he loves them too. Well, I'm fitting to be quick, I hope you understand. There is no way you can make it without the big man.